From that moment when I was invited to have a speech in this conference, I looked at the topic, the role of Catholic University in time of tension of populism and nationalism, and I agreed voluntarily because I know the meaning of each world and I know the meaning of those worlds put together. But when I saw the panel number 3, to which I, frankly speaking, volunteered, I saw that political consciousness, I do not know what does it mean. So I was involved in politics since a long time and very deeply since 2008. I, frankly speaking, do not understand what it is. But I try to give some meaning for myself to this political consciousness using the works of Max Scheler and Peter Berger, how to construct a social reality which comes from the sociology of knowledge. And I understand this as a constant pendulum, the movement of pendulum from one side to another. And when we are talking about populism and nationalism now, it's about a pendulum, because it goes from one side to another. It is movement, it is vibrant, it is live, but maybe we all would like to have this pendulum in the static position, which would mean prosperity, which would mean development, etc. Each public square, since Athenian agora, until nowadays, reflect political consciousness of the epoch. It reflects the understanding of what politics is, and what is the purpose of political process, and what is the purpose of public square, and who is entitled to be present in this public square, and who gives this entitlement. These are very important questions. And is this public square inclusive or excluding? If including, who should be included, why, who sets the rules? And the same question about if it is excluding, why it is excluding, who excludes, on which standards he uses. And my question also revolves, if we speak about purpose of the politics, if we speak about the meaning of and purpose of the public square, is also always revolves around human dignity and common good. It is Aristotelian old questions. These are questions of Catholic social teaching, and I think this is the purpose for the existence of public square and the political process. And I explain this for myself. Political consciousness should always revolve around these two main issues. And I would like to ask a few other questions about political consciousness. What human beings are. It is classical questions. I'm not going to discuss these issues in this audience because not necessary. What is a political process? What is common good? Who, what, how, and why is to take care about all these issues? And I would like to move directly to current situation with a recent breakthrough of technologies, digital technologies and biogenetical technologies. We will have a question which we had at the time of the first economic revolution. What will be the destiny of human being which could be changed, managed? If we speak about neurology, and if we speak about digital process as a kind of neurological neuroprocesses, and if we try to combine digital sphere with the human biological sphere, what will be the status of human being, and what will be the question which will be set on the public square? what to do with a human being who is the Lord of the life today. Those questions are discussed. I have friends in Canada, in the United States, in Italy, in Germany. This is discussed on the public square of those countries. This is not discussed in Ukraine. This is discussed in Ukrainian Catholic University and in some other academic places. But this is not on a really public square in Ukraine. It's absent. And maybe this would be the role of the Ukrainian Catholic University to bring these issues, to bring this discussion into the political public square. And what is discussed on the public square in Ukraine? And as a person which was involved and still is involved in real politics, and I served 2.5 years as a deputy governor of this region, I can tell you, I pretend that I know the truth, what is discussed on the political public square in Ukraine. And this is populism, real populism. People indeed are a little bit tired of what is going on in Ukraine, in political process, are tired of war. And people who went on revolution of dignity were expecting to get new standards of life. And since there were a lot of young people who are maximalist, they aspire to get better standards immediately. And populists responded to this. We can give you everything and immediately. Choose me, vote for me. And this is a discussion on a public square in Ukraine. I am not going into the discussion about nationalism, because nationalist issues are also on a public square, but in a time of war, in a time of questioning what is our identity, it's a little bit dangerous to discuss all these questions. And I'd like to tell you that a few months ago, maybe in November, one friend of mine from France called me and asked me, Yuri, look, is it true that in your country, which you claim to be Christian, surrogacy is legal? Well, I told her, yeah, it's true, but how do you know? Well, it's not a question, how do I know this? You told me your country is Christian, I think it is not true. And is surrogacy discussed in Ukraine? No, it's taken for granted. 99% even do not know that it is legal in Ukraine. A few days later, my cousin who lives in Spain called me and asked, Yuri, is it true that surrogacy is legal in Ukraine? I go, wait, stop. You are not the first one to ask this question. What's going on? And I understood later that this Ukrainian situation is discussed on a public square of European Union. In media, of course. And what to do with all of that? What shall we do in Ukrainian Catholic University? Maybe we should do the same as we did before with educational reform. The contribution of Ukrainian Catholic University to the educational reform is immense, and that's true. The idea of the academic autonomy, which is now in course of being implemented into Ukrainian academic reality, is true. And this could be a task for our university, and not only for our university, but also for European public square to help us in bringing this to the public square. And not only just for the discussion, but to find solution, to try to find good solution. And that is not a purely political issue. It is a political issue in Aristotelian sense. It is a moral question, because politics, it is about good, but in a public dimension. And The same friend from France called me a few days later. Said, Yuriy, is it true that all supermarkets in Ukraine are open in Sunday? Look, man, you visited Ukraine on several occasions. We went with you to the supermarket. It was Sunday because we went first to the church and later on. But look, in France, it is not so. Is it so? Not really. I studied with my colleagues in Liechtenstein, and if on Saturday at 3 p.m. you didn't succeed to buy goods in supermarket, you couldn't do it until Monday morning. And that is because on the public square there is a political consciousness that something should be present on this public square and something should be excluded. And what is not to be excluded is rather human dignity and common good. And that is briefly what I wanted to tell you, but the last thing I would like still to add is about populism. I don't know what's going on exactly in France, Poland, or Hungary with populist movements, but in Ukraine, those populist movements has something inherited from the Soviet time. I mean paternalistic thinking. We are those who can grant you what you wish. And that in the current markets economy looks like transforming into patron-client model. Someone is a patron who has his clients, and those clients are those who, according to Aristotle, will be not allowed on a public square because they are already treated as slave by natures. And the question of human dignity rises again. What is human dignity? Who, why, and how should protect it on a public square? Thank you.